Former Indiana basketball center Kel'el Ware will be in Brooklyn tonight for the NBA draft, and I'm going to tell you why he will be a lottery pick.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, and it's the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen each and every day. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Terms apply with Game Time. Well, thank you so much again. Shout out to all of my everydayers, those of you that come back each and every day. Even here in the dog days of summer, you're the real one. So thank you so much for that, whether you're on audio, listening on whatever platform you may be on, or if you're watching on YouTube. Thank you so much for being a supporter of Locked On Hoosiers. Today's the day. Tonight's the night for Kel'el Ware in the NBA draft. And there's a lot going on around this draft class, and there's a lot of hate going on with this class, and even some people still sleeping on Kel'el Ware. I think he'll be a lottery pick. I think he'll be a top 15 pick in the NBA draft. I think he's good enough, and I think somebody takes the chance on him. I know it goes against the projections. I know most mock drafts don't have him that high. I don't care. I just think he's going to go that high. I don't know. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. But I think that he is a lottery pick. I think he's one of the best players in this class that people are sleeping on. We're talking about that today. Plus some big football news. Curt Cignetti does it again. They add to the 2025 class, this time flipping a big-time receiver from the Illinois Fighting Illini. Plus, at the end of the show, going to have more of a broad topic about coaches and players leaving one school to go to rivals. Talking about that towards the end of the show today as well. As I said, today is the day one of the NBA draft for 2024 in Brooklyn, New York. And we told you a while ago that Kel'el Ware, now former center for the Indiana Hoosiers, 7-footer, was a guy that just did it all for this Hoosiers team, right? He's somebody that the Indiana Hoosiers relied on day in and day out, one of the best players on Mike Woodson's squad a year ago. He's going to be at the NBA draft. He got the green room invitation, which for those of you that don't know what that means, they invite a bunch of the players who they believe, the NBA and the NBA draft, they invite a bunch of the players that they believe are going to be taken in the first round of the NBA draft, because of course it's a massive television production. They go up on the stage, right? They get up and they hug their family and their friends, and they go up on stage. They shake Adam Silver's hand, get the hat, pictures, interviews, the whole shebang, right? So Kel'el Ware got that invitation, and you don't really get that invite unless they believe you're going to be a first-round pick, because, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for you to be there if you're not going to be drafted on the first night. So Kel'el Ware will be there. There are reports, too, that Mike Woodson and some of the staff is going to be there with him in Brooklyn tonight for the NBA draft when he does eventually get drafted. So that's really, really cool. I'm glad that Mike Woodson and some of the staff are going to be there to support him and show a little face, right? Shake some hands, kiss some babies, right? For Mike Woodson and the staff. And that's really cool, man. That's really cool for them to go and support a guy. If that doesn't tell you the impact that Kel'el Ware left in just the year that he was here, the Oregon transfer coming into Indiana, being all defensive team and being one of the most dominant post players in college basketball, that should tell you right there the impact he left on this university, this town, and this program, because they're making the flight to Brooklyn tonight to go be with him and celebrate him being drafted to the NBA. My take is, I think he's a lottery pick. I think he's that good. Yeah, I know there's two centers above him that are being projected above him in this NBA draft. One is the guy from overseas, and the other one, Zach Edey from Purdue. And I just think Kel'el Ware has more NBA potential than Zach Edey. I just think he does. I think that Kel'el Ware has more of a motor than Zach Edey will in the NBA. Look, Edey struggled in college to get up and down the floor. Kel'el Ware could do it. Kel'el Ware got up and down the floor really, really well. And I've seen people talk about they're worried about his motor for an 82-game season. Well, I don't think that's an issue. I think Kel'el Ware is going to be fine. I think you should worry about Zach Edey and his motor for 82 games because I don't think the guy's got it. I just don't. And I believe that Kel'el Ware has a lot more potential. I just feel like Zach Edey, as great as he is, and I'm not saying he's not because he's a really good player from Purdue, I just don't know how much better Zach Edey can get. I think he's kind of where he is. I think he is what he is in terms of his game inside the paint and his footwork and his shooting and his rebounding. Like, yeah, he was just really big. And he can make his own shot. And he was a really good player. But I just feel the potential of Kel'el Ware. He has room to grow. The NBA can mold him into what they want in terms of, using him as a 4 or a 5, I think, as a possibility, and trying to develop a three-point game or even a mid-range game and continue to have him work on his footwork and inside finishing abilities and running the floor and playing good defense. That's where Kel'el Ware separates himself. He can go out and guard. Not great, but he can do it. Zach Edey, he can't. He gets blown by every time. He uses his size, and that's it. Ware has a little bit of flexibility here and there and can get from side to side. And if he gets beat, then he's got the recovery aspect of, hey, I'm 7 foot tall. All of that to be said, I guess to say this, I think he's a top 15 player in this draft. And this is a draft class that's gotten a lot of hate. They're saying it's one of the worst classes in decades in the NBA. And if you look up and down it's not great. It's not sexy. There's some big names, Dalton Knecht from Tennessee, Zach Edey from Purdue, Kel'el Ware from Indiana. But it's not the most attractive draft class we've seen in the last handful of years. But I think that benefits Kel'el Ware. I think there's a team out there that will take a shot on Kel'el Ware from Indiana. Now, most mock drafts, and this is the updated one from ESPN, this was from late last night, they've got him going 24th overall to the New York Knicks. But in case you missed it, the Knicks are just going crazy with draft picks, and they brought in Mikal Bridges from Brooklyn, and they sent, it's crazy. It's that time where people are sending draft picks left and right, and they're doing all sorts of stuff right now before the draft actually happens tonight. And so, look, out of all the mock drafts, we talked about it. Everydayers know this. We've seen him as high as 13 and about as low as 24, 25. There's some teams that are interested. New Orleans, I know, is up there that really want him. And so we'll see. Zach Edey's predicted to go 17th to the Los Angeles Lakers, whereas where we thought Ware was going to go for a while. Could Kel'el Ware still go there? Absolutely. That wouldn't make him a lottery pick. He'd have to get all the way to the Miami Heat at 15, or, even higher than that, maybe Sacramento or Oklahoma City at 12. It'd be a lot, but I think it can happen. And I think he's good enough to be a lottery pick, is Kel'el Ware from Indiana. Let's see what happens. We're excited for him. And no matter where he goes, no matter what he does, I think he's going to be a good player. And I just hope he gets to the right system. I saw a lot of you commenting on YouTube, so thanks so much for that, getting your thoughts and opinions on where you think he should go. I think there's a few that would be really good for him, and I think he's a top 15 player in this draft. Will he be a lottery pick? I think so. We'll see if it happens, though. NBA draft is tonight in Brooklyn, New York. Kel'el Ware will be there with his family, and he's also going to have his former head coach, Mike Woodson, right there by his side. Well, coming up on Locked On Hoosiers, we'll flip over to football for a second because Curt Cignetti, he's at it again. He flipped a big-time commit from Illinois to Indiana and just continues to add to that 2025 class. We'll talk about that coming up next on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. Look, Game Time is now my go-to ticketing app for all sorts of events, sports, music, comedy. I know friends that have used it for theater events in big-time cities as well. And everybody I know that I continue to preach from the rooftops, they love the Game Time app. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which is pretty much the only sport going on right now, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch, which that is true. So you can make last-minute decisions to go to games or events, and you're actually going to get rewarded for it. They have some flash deals and zone deals. So sometimes they'll have exclusive in-app deals that you can take advantage of. Sometimes if you pick a specific zone in the arena or the venue, you'll get a discount for doing that as well. That's what's really cool about Game Time. And then the all-in pricing. When you toggle this feature, it shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. It shows you exactly what you're paying for. So rather than seeing a good price and then it getting jacked up by the end of it, you're going to see the good price up front and you're going to pay that good price. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. All one word. All right, terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here again, being an everydayer and making this truly your first listen each and every day. If you are new here, thank you so much for checking us out. Hope you're enjoying it. Be sure that you subscribe to the channel so you never miss a new episode of Locked On Hoosiers. That's on the YouTube channel. Just click on our Locked On Hoosiers logo. You can hit subscribe right there. You'll be notified each and every day when the new episode drops. Or if you're listening on audio, you can do a variation of that, right? Follow, turn on notifications. I know there's a bunch of audio platforms out there. So whichever one you decide to use, be sure that you keep up with us on there as well. Curt Cignetti in Indiana football. I told you, everydayers know this. I told you the other day, he is killing it and crushing it and dominating it in high school recruiting and is doing what it takes to turn the program around. He continues to add players. He is into double-digit recruits and commitments for 2025, and he just did it again. He flips wide receiver Davian Chandler from Illinois to Indiana, a 3-star guy that I think has potential to continue to rise in the rankings. They're talking about this kid being one of the best and most underrated rising seniors in the class. I mean, that's how good this guy is. He's a guy that, again, he committed to Illinois earlier in the month of June, but as I told you, the month of June belongs to Indiana, man. They have gotten numerous. I mean, over half the class has been committed in the month of June for Indiana football. And Chandler took an official visit this past weekend. He loved it. He said, yep, boom, I'm in. His relationship with Curt Cignetti has been good. His relationship with Mike Shanahan, the wide receivers coach here at Indiana, loved him as well and had some good things to say. Here's a quote from our new receiver. Says, quote, after being here so many times, you just get a more at home feeling every time. He says, I love the campus, the coaching staff, and my relationship with Coach Shanahan is not like a lot. Been recruiting me since day one, first offer. Also, being a part of a great change in Indiana football is a great opportunity for me. So that's some good confirmation on a side note here that Indiana is using I don't want to call it stereotypical, but using hey, come be a part of our rebuild, come be a part of the change, and you can make Indiana football good, right? You can make it great again, and you can turn this thing around. You can be a part of that. And sounds like Indiana is using that and using that as a selling point to recruits. And why wouldn't you? Everybody else does when they get into this situation. So you may as well do the same thing. And it sounds like that's what this coaching staff is up to. Chandler he's quick, speedy, really good off the ball, and he's just good at getting open. He's a really fast receiver, and he's not going to blow you away with his size or even his jumping ability, athleticism in that terms, but he's just somebody you can rely on to get open and get the football. If you get it to him, he's going to grab it and he's going to take off and run, right? That's what's exciting about this guy from Ohio. And they have him and this is some stats from 247. So caught 40 passes a year ago, 779 yards and 13 touchdowns as a junior. So you could tell he was a go-to guy at his high school, a go-to receiver where you need a 3rd and 3, boom, there he is right there, hit him, and he's going to take off and you get the first down and you keep moving forward, right? Or he's a big play type of guy as well, and he's only going to get bigger, only going to get faster, only going to get stronger, and that's what's good about adding a receiver like this. He is now the 14th commit for Indiana in the 2025 class. And it really is remarkable to see what the month of June has been for Curt Cignetti and the staff. And I told you they weren't done. I told you they were not done. And guess what? The motto, the narrative, it stays the same. They are not done. I don't care that it's the dead period. Ain't nothing dead in Indiana right now. This Indiana staff, they're rolling. And they're feeling it, and they've got a little momentum. And just like anything, whether it's sports or life, you got momentum, you keep it going, and you do everything you can to not let it go. And that's what Coach Cignetti's doing right now. They are not done. They will get more commits. Then you've got the end of July where it opens back up after July 24th. It's from June 24 to July 24 is the dead period. Then after that, it's full blown. You have one or two more big weekends to get out, see people, get them on campus before the season starts, before fall practice. And then, yeah, you'll bring kids in throughout the year for games, right? And all that stuff. But I don't want to say you're running out of time because there's a lot of time left. You still have early signing day and early signing period, I guess, in December. And then the real signing day in February, which nobody abides by. I mean, about 90% of players sign in December for early signing day, which is so dumb. And that's a lot of the things that the coaches have complained about is, look, the calendar's all out of whack. I mean, it's ridiculous. The calendar is so broken for recruiting, transfer portal, all that stuff. It's ridiculous, but that's a whole nother conversation for a different time. What's the conversation here is Curt Cignetti brings in another one. And not only did he get a commit, he flipped a commit from a Big Ten school in Illinois. And look, there will be people that hate, always are, right? It's the internet. That's how it works. There will be people that say, oh, congratulations, you flipped him from Illinois. What a great program. I don't care. Illinois is doing some things, and they're trying to do the same thing we are and get relevant again. And they liked this kid. He was good enough to get other Big Ten offers. Can we not crap on that for a second? Can we understand that a kid that's a 3-star that other people believe in, other Big Ten programs believe in, he's probably a pretty good player? Can we admit that? He's probably pretty good. And so, and he is good. I know he's good. I'm saying, can we accept and have other people accept the fact that he's a good player and the fact that Indiana did not stop recruiting him? That's what I also love here. There are so many staffs around the country, former, current, whatever, that have adopted an ideology where they're like, oh, he's committed somewhere else. I guess he's out. I guess we're not going to get him. Darn. Oh, no. I guess, man, we almost had him. Like, that's a horrible mindset to have, right? And I've seen coaches get fired because of that mindset all over this country at college football programs. Curt Cignetti's not like that. He didn't give up when his receiver committed to Illinois this month, earlier in June, okay? He didn't give up on that. He said, that's fine. We still believe, we still want him back on campus. It's not his first time. He talked about how many times he's been here and how much he loved it, and it got better each and every time, right? Cignetti and his staff knew that. They said, all right, he's really liked it here. He may be committed to Illinois. That's cool. That's fine. But we're going to get our shot. We're going to get him back here one more time, and we're going to see maybe even more if he hadn't committed already, right? And they were going to do what it took to get him to flip. And then they did. And now, in today's world of college football, as you all know, now that you've got him committed to Indiana, you've got to keep him and all your other commits, all 14 of them. You have to get them and keep them committed to Indiana because this guy just flipped from Illinois, right? He can do it again, and anybody can flip at any time. That's what's scary. And in today's world, it's more common than ever before. The threat of that is higher than it's ever been. And so not only are you actively recruiting on the trail, not only are you actively recruiting your own current roster, you still have to recruit the guys that are committed to you until the pen hits the paper. And even then, it's not 100%. Which is scary. Makes the job harder than it's ever been before, but they're making a lot of money, so I think they'll be okay. Good news is Indiana gets another big recruit in the 2025 football class. Wide receiver Davion Chandler has flipped his commitment from Illinois to Indiana. He is the 14th commit of the class for Indiana football and head coach Curt Cignetti. The month of June belongs to the Hoosiers, and as I told you before, I don't think they're done. Well, coming up in our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, a little bit more of a fun, open-ended conversation that we're going to have. We just saw the college baseball season end, and one of the national championship game head coaches just left for his rival. How in the world can you do that? I got some thoughts on that whole thing of coaches and players not just leaving their schools, but going to their biggest rivals. We're talking about that in our final segment, having a little fun as we wrap up the Wednesday edition of Locked On Hoosiers. Stay tuned. Final segment here on Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here again and making this your first listen each and every day. A reminder, we are in the off season here on the college channel, and so going 3 or 4 days a week. And this week, I've told you every day, this is the last episode of the week. I'm out of town Thursday, Friday through the weekend for a bachelor trip. I will be back. We'll have shows next week, okay? But just keep that in mind. This is the final episode of Locked On Hoosiers for the week. We had episodes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so if you missed those, be sure to go back and catch up on those, okay? But this will be the last one of this week as I'll be out of town on a bachelor trip. So I'm excited for that and really looking forward to that, but just to keep that in mind. A little bit more of an open-ended fun conversation here, not particularly to Indiana, just kind of looking at the landscape of college sports for a second. The College World Series for baseball just wrapped up. Tennessee wins their first national championship. Tony Vitello, a lot of people don't like him. That's fine. I'm kind of in the same boat. Dude's pretty much a jerk, but now he's a winner, and you can't say a whole lot to him. Then you also had on the other side, and of course it was 2 SEC schools, that conferences, look, they're just good, man. You got to give them their stars when they earn it. And they had 2 of their teams in the national championship game. They guaranteed a national championship before the championship series even started. And A&M, Texas A&M, that is, they looked really good, right? They looked really, really good. And they went up. They won the first game. They thought they were going to win it. And then Tennessee came back and they won game 2 and game 3. So Tony Vitello and Tennessee win their first national championship. Texas A&M was going for their first national championship as well. And head coach Jim Schlossnagle in the post-game press conference, don't know if you saw this or not, this clip went pretty viral in the sports realm, in the sports world. A reporter asked him about his future at Texas A&M. And this was not a random question. A lot of times I'm not a fan of asking that because it's like, okay, the championship just ended. They just lost. Like, let's have a little respect for the coaches and the players, right? We see that all the time in professional leagues where it's like, oh, Kevin Durant, where are you going? I know you just lost the playoff series, but are you going to Golden State or whatever, right? You see this all the time. But there was some relevancy to the question. The day of game 3 of the national championship game, you had Texas fire their head baseball coach. They let him go. They parted ways, however, whatever word they wanted to use. He's gone. They let him go. He's no longer the head coach there. And it was instantly started to be rumored that both Tony Vitello from Tennessee and Jim Schlossnagle from Texas A&M were rumored to go to Texas. Well, in case you don't know your history of old football in the state of Texas, A&M and Texas do not like each other. They actually hate each other very much, and now they'll be playing each other in the SEC, but those 2 programs are not very nice to each other. And the timing was weird of them firing him, and it was really no secret that Vitello and Schlossnagle were Texas's 2 biggest targets. And hang with me here. I'm getting to where I'm going. And so A&M loses the national championship. Tennessee's out celebrating, and a reporter asked Texas A&M's baseball coach, hey, what is your future at Texas A&M with some of the rumors going around about you possibly being a candidate for another job that just opened up, talking about the Texas job? And he absolutely ripped into this reporter, right? And you can go and find it. Just type in Texas A&M baseball coach rips reporter. It will come up, I promise. And acted like a total you-know-what. I mean, just a jerk, man. Just a jerk is what he acted like. And just completely dogged on the reporter for asking it, threw a whole temper tantrum, and then got up and walked away. And that was it. We never heard from him again as the head coach of Texas A&M. Why? Because, I don't know, less than 24 hours later, he took the Texas job. He took the job at Texas after ripping somebody for asking him and saying, how dare you ask me that question? I took this A&M job because I'm here for life. I took this so I'd never take another job. and then he goes to his biggest rival. You know what that tells me? Tells me money talks. Tells me that, yeah, money kind of is everything to these people, whether it be coaches leaving jobs to go to another job, whether it be players in the NIL era leaving one school to go to another. But this takes it to a whole nother level, right? This is Texas A&M's head coach leaving to go to one of their biggest old school rivals in Texas. And look, you don't see it happen very often, but when it does, people lose their minds. Remember in basketball season and kind of right after basketball season, the transfer portal, the transfer portal news of Aiden Holloway, a point guard down at Auburn with Bruce Pearl, who hit the portal and went to Alabama, their biggest rival with Nate Oates. That was huge news in college basketball because that's one of those rivalries you just don't do that. I mean, think about in today's era where, what if Malik Renew had decided, all right, I'm going in the portal, and Purdue said, yeah, we want him. And he went to Purdue. You know what I'm saying here? Like, you have rivalries like this: Ohio State, Michigan, Indiana, Purdue, Auburn, Alabama, Texas, and Texas A&M. Like those types of rivalries where, man, I just don't know if the rewards are worth the risk that you're taking and worth burning that bridge with your former place, with your former ride, whether you be a coach or whether it's a player, right? That's just a risky business to be a part of. And look, Schlossnagle, the former A&M coach, new Texas coach, he's getting drugged in the media, and rightfully so. He was a jerk, and he deserved for acting like an idiot in his press conference and then becoming the biggest hypocrite in the last decade, it seems like. It's just a wild concept to me where it's no surprise when coaches leave for another job, they leave for a bigger job, right? Kalen DeBoer leaving Washington to go to Alabama for football. Like, that's not a big deal. But leaving for your biggest rival, that's crazy. That's a lot, right? And some people don't care. Some people are like, they're doing what they want to do. Other people are like, absolutely not. Fan bases will cut you off immediately, and you will never be received in a town again. If you leave Bloomington to go to Purdue, yeah, you're never welcome here. You leave Tuscaloosa and you go to Baton Rouge, yeah, you're never going back. You leave Columbus and go to Ann Arbor, nope, you're done. Don't step foot in this town again, right? It's a wild thing, but that's what makes college sports so awesome. That's what makes college athletics so much better than everything else. And this is a wild story. I wanted to at least talk about it. I know it doesn't have a whole lot to do with the Hoosiers, but it's a big story, and you can relate it to Indiana. There's stories, there's instances here, and you just never know in today's world of college sports. Money talks, man, and that's what it's all about. Don't ever forget that, ladies and gentlemen. If you take one thing away from this show today, don't ever forget that it's all about the money. I don't care what they say. I don't care what they tell you. I don't care what they make you believe. It's all about the money. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Man, I appreciate you. I'm having so much fun on this show, and I hope you're enjoying listening to it and watching it each and every day. As always, be sure you follow us and turn on notifications on your audio platform listening there. If you're on YouTube, comment down below, like this video, subscribe to our channel so you never miss a new episode. Okay, this is the last episode of the week. We will be back next week. I promise we will be back. I'm out of town for a bachelor trip. Going to get away for a few days. Going to come back, and we'll have more great episodes for you coming up next week. So have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend. We will be back next week. All right. So until then, Hoosier fans, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.